Hello, I'm glad you've joined us for WVU's Energy Express. I'm Joel Brown and I'll be your host for the next few weeks. We're going to go on an adventure. We're going to read lots of stories and great books. We're going to go in the kitchen and cook. We'll go outside and explore frogs and leaves and how things grow. We're going to build a balloon car and a helicopter and even learn the chicken dance. So get ready, get comfy, and let's go.
Hi, my name's Dave McGill. I'm the Forestry Extension Specialist at West Virginia University, and today I'm going to tell you something special. I'm going to tell you about something that not too many people know about. I'm going to tell you about what wood is made of. As you know, wood can be very hard and very heavy. There are even trees out in the western part of the United States, growing up in the mountains, called giant sequoias. They're among the heaviest living organisms in the world. They can weigh almost 2,000 tons. That's about as much as 360 large African bush elephants. That's a lot of very heavy weight. So today I'm standing next to this nice, large red maple tree. As its trunk goes all the way up, you can kind of see way up into the crown of the tree, and even where the sunlight is hitting some of those leaves. Nice tree, very large. This is where wood grows from, right? Where's the wood? It's on the inside. If you peeled back this bark, you'd find the wood. But to actually learn about what wood is made of, we have to go back to the lab. Okay, here we are back in the lab, continuing the question, what is wood really made of? I think most people are familiar with wood when it's in this kind of form, but to get to this form, you have to take a big tree like the red maple we're standing next to, that's kind of roundish, and cut it down, cut it into log lengths, and take those logs and put them through a sawmill. And that's what cuts these little squarish pieces that we can call boards or lumber. And there's so many different types of wood in the world that we can do so many different things with. And we're going to talk about some of those today. But first, I'm going to tell you the secret about what really is in the wood, what wood is made of. And here it is. This is a little example using these bamboo straws. Wood is actually made of little wooden tubes or pipes. And I know you're probably thinking, you might be saying, how can a tree that's so tall and big and strong and weighs so much be made of little hollow wooden tubes? Well, we're going to find out. So let's take a look.
Okay, here we are. We have our little wooden blocks, our little pieces of lumber, and as I was saying, what is making up this wood are little wooden tubes or pipes, and we can actually call them pipes because what they do is they conduct water and nutrients all the way from the ground up in through the tubes, in through these wooden pipes, and way up into the branches and leaves of the tree, all the way at the very top part of the tree. The tubes, these wooden pipes, actually lay this way in the boards, and you can kind of see some of these pipes in this specimen and some of these other specimens, types of wood, and there's a lot of different types of wood, aren't there? You can see that on this side there's a black cherry, here's a northern red oak, this is from the American basswood tree, this one's from sugar maple that we love its maple syrup that we make from it, and this one is sassafras, here's a white ash, and a black walnut. So you can see such variety in the world of trees. And you'll learn these if you study forestry or nature in school. You'll be able to learn to identify all these different types of trees and the special wood that is made in each one of these things. But this is really the way that these wood pieces stand in the tree, like this. When we look down on the tree, we can see these little pipes, and these are actually found in growth rings. And I'm sure some of you have heard about these growth rings, but we're going to talk a little bit more about them as we get closer and closer, deeper and deeper into finding out more and more about these little wooden pipes that make up wood. Okay, let's take a closer look at these little growth rings. Here is what we would call a tree cookie, because we've cut this thin little cookie out of a tree trunk. And as you can see inside, there's a whole bunch of little rings. Those are the growth rings. At the very center is called the pith, P-I-T-H. And some trees have a very neat little pith. It's a star-shaped pith of the oaks and some hickories. And a little star in there, but that's just the center of the tree. And every year, a tree will grow one little growth ring, one ring per year. And this tree actually grew pretty slowly, and it is because I've marked these little dots at 10-year lengths. So from here to here is 10 years, and from here to here is 10 years. So it really was growing slowly. This tree is 67 years old. You can tell how old a tree is by counting the rings. So we were saying that the little wooden tubes are inside these rings. So in order to see those rings, we have to go to the microscope. Here we've turned the microscope on, and remember, we're going to be looking at these little tree rings to look for the wooden tubes that make up the wood. And here was our tree cookie, and I've turned the microscope on. Let me focus it just a little bit, and soon these little wooden tubes will come into focus, and there they are. And you can see these bands of large wooden tubes make up the growth ring. These are the lines that we see down here in this little tree cookie on the lower right-hand side of the screen. But what happens is these large tubes, these large wooden pipes, they grow at the beginning of the spring. And when the buds are breaking and the leaves are flushing out, the tree needs lots of water. And so these large wooden tubes allow water from the roots to go all the way up into the leaves and take care of the tree leaves. And then as the season progresses, if you look over here to the little bit to the left, these tubes, they start to get smaller. The summer wears on, it gets a little drier, and these are tinier little wooden tubes. And then at the very end, the growth stops, the leaves fall off, and it stops growing altogether. Until the next year, when all of a sudden the big tubes again are formed in the spring, and they grow and conduct water up from the roots into the leaves. And as the summer wears on again, those little wooden tubes get smaller and smaller until autumn, when the leaves fall off and the tree stops growing again. So that's kind of how it works with the small little wooden tubes that make up wood. Just to show you that wooden pipes do actually run all the way through wood, I have taken a little piece out of board or a piece of lumber. I've cut a little piece out, and I'm going to blow air through this, and just to prove that they do indeed run all the way through this piece of wood, solid piece of wood. Here it goes. So there you have it, proof that wooden tubes do go all the way through this wood. Now you can't do this for every species, because some species get plugged up after the water stops flowing, but this is a northern red oak, and you can do it with that. So there you go, proof that tubes do go through this wood. Okay, so we can summarize what we've talked about on our discussion about what makes up wood. We started out by a big old tree, and we can kind of sketch a tree. You all can sketch the tree too. They're not tough to make. We just have the three parts. Here's the crown that is made up by the leaves and the twigs. Then we have this trunk, the trunk of the tree. And then down in here we have roots. We talked about all of these. And then we have to draw a little person that shows how big the tree is, right? So we looked at this trunk, and from the trunk we got a little section that we called a tree cookie, right? and we saw it was circular, right? And then, of course, we have to draw the 3-dimension. There we go. There's the bark on the outside. We saw some of that. Then on the inside, we saw the pith. We had a little star-shaped pith on one. Then every year, the tree grows one growth ring, and the growth ring is made up of all these little wooden pipes. And so we looked closely with a microscope at that, right? Looked at the microscope, and what do we see? Saw these little wooden pipes, and this is what they look like when you kind of take them out and look at the whole thing. They're all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Here's just one of the shapes, and here's the inside of the wooden pipe, and down here is the other end. You can kind of see inside that way. So that's it, and that's how we were talking about the water flows up from the roots, right? Up from roots. Up from the roots all the way through the tube and out the top of this tube into other tubes that are on top, all the way up to the leaves. Up to the leaves. And so that's kind of how that works. The wood is made of these little wooden tubes. So to wrap things up, sometimes I like to read poems to even adult learners who are in some of my classes like Tree ID, and I'd like to share one with you today. And this one is about wooden pipes, and it's called Wooden Pipes. Wooden pipes. Up from the ground through wooden pipes, water flows to leaves held high in the sunlight. Little pipes all together make strong wood so trees can survive the windy weather. We cut the tree and use the wood for building homes and doing good. And then another tree may grow in its place and give us all its goods and grace.
Okay, so that's it. I hope now you know that this solid wood we see is actually made up of little hollow wooden pipes, and that when you go out in the world and look at these big trees around you, that you'll know that each one makes its own very special type of wood.
Wow, thanks Dave. Wasn't that cool? I told you all we were going to have a lot of fun and learn a lot. And now, from the science behind wood to the science behind making a parachute. We go now to Dr. Robertson Honecker and her son Ben to learn how to make an excellent parachute.
Today's STEM Care activity is egg parachutes. You can find a similar activity in the Science Fun with Physics 4-H project book designed by The Ohio State University. Find this project book and others at their website, ohio4h.org, or by contacting your county extension office. In today's activity, we're going to use the following materials: scissors, tape, a hole punch, garbage bags, some sort of marker, light string, a ruler, and also a measuring tape that measures up to at least 30 inches, a stopwatch, 3 cups, some tissue paper, and some eggs. All right, well, let's get started making our egg cradle for our egg parachute. To start our project, we're gonna need to create 3 egg cradles that hold our eggs securely. To do this, we're gonna take 3 small cups, about 7 to 9 ounce size, and we're gonna put 4 hole punches in each cup. We wanna make sure that as we make the hole punches, we're doing so symmetrically around the opening of the cup. So you wanna go ahead and make our holes for us?
Yeah.
Very good job. So we have 4 holes symmetrical around the opening there so that we can tie our strings later for our parachute to that. Now we want to do this to the other 2 cups. Okay, now that we have 3 cups prepared, we want to put some cushioning in our cup as well. So to do that, we are going to use tissue paper. So when you grab a piece of tissue paper, I want you to take it, and before placing it into the cup, rumple it up a little bit. And we're gonna do this to 2 tissue papers per cup, and then we're gonna put it inside. You wanna get that one? Okay, we'll save this one for later. All right, so now we have 3 egg cradles ready to go. Next, we're gonna create the parachute portion of our egg parachutes. To do this, we need several garbage bags. All right, so for this portion of the project, we're gonna use a garbage bag to make 3 different parachutes. Now, we wanna test a couple different variables. We're not sure at this point what size of a parachute's going to work best. What's the point of a parachute, Ben? Why do you think if we're making an egg parachute, what's important about keeping that egg from breaking?
The drag in the parachute.
Right. So what's like, do you want the parachute to move really slowly, really fastly? Slowly. So the slower the parachute goes, the better, the less likely that the egg will break before it hits the bottom. So we don't know what the perfect size is for that, so we're gonna test 3 different sizes. Now you can pick the sizes that you want to for this, but we decided to make a 10 by 10 inch, a 20 by 20 inch, and a 30 by 30 inch parachute. Now to do that, we'll wanna measure, and for 10 by 10, that's pretty easy because we can use a regular ruler for that. So here, we wanna find the 10-inch mark on the edge. So where is that gonna be? Now, the nice thing about one garbage bag, we can actually make several parachutes. So we don't wanna cut through both sides. So the first side to cut would be along this angle here, so we can break this in half. Does that make sense? So then we can use the other side for a different parachute. So you wanna go ahead and cut along this seam? All right, so now that we've cut this side, we can pull this away. And we can cut our remaining portion. So let's cut along this angle here. There we go. We'll use the rest of this garbage bag to cut our 20 or 30 inch, but you'll probably need a second bag for your third parachute. Now that we've cut our 3 different parachute sizes, 30 inches, 20 inches, and 10 inches, we need to cut some string to attach the parachute to our egg cradle cup. And we also need to put some holes in the parachute so that we can tie it to. Okay, so let's start by cutting our string. So here we're just using really light kite string for this project. And we want to cut string about 20 inches long, somewhere around that. It can be a little bit longer, as long as each of your strings are consistently the same length. In this case, one easy way,
is to model it off of your 20-inch one.
You could do that. You could also use your, I'll show you a trick. In this case, we wouldn't be making 20 inches, we'd be making 24 inches. So a ruler's 12 inches long. Here we go, that's okay. A ruler's 12 inches long, so if I take the string and wrap it around twice, that's gonna be a total of what?
20.
24. So in this 12 plus 12 is 24. So we can snip this and we'll make 24-inch long pieces of string. So you wanna try the next one?
Sure.
Okay, so if we have 3 total parachutes and each parachute needs 4 strings, how many total strings will we need to cut?
12.
12, right, we'll need 12 total strings to cut for our parachutes. All right, so, let's see, I already have a few of them cut here. We can add some more in a little bit. But the next part that I want to show you is how to attach your strings to your parachute. All right, so we're gonna put holes in the corners of our parachute. Now the hole punch doesn't work very well for that because it's made of plastic. So the better way to do it is with something like a pencil. So when we do it, we don't want to do it too close to the edge. You want to put it about an inch inside the corner of the parachute. So. Now that we have holes in our parachute, we can go ahead and do the same thing to our 30-inch. We're going to tie a string to the end of each one. For your kids at home, you may need an adult's help for this part of it if you're not very good at tying. We're going to do this to the end of all of our parachutes. Okay, so our completed parachute will have string on each corner. Okay, so what do you think we need to do next? We've got the parachute and the strings.
We have to tie it to the other.
We have to tie it to the egg cradle cup, right? Because it's not going to protect the egg if it's not attached to the egg cradle cup. All right, so let's clear a few of our items. On this step, we're going to connect our parachutes with our egg cradle cups. So we have 4 symmetrical holes in our cup, and we have 4 strings attached to the edges of our parachute plastic here. So as you're thinking through the process of tying this on, you'll also want to pay attention that you're going in order of this, because if you don't, what could happen? If we kind of just,
all tangled.
it would get all tangled, right? And then it wouldn't fall well, the parachute won't open and our egg will crack when it hits the ground. So we want to make sure we pay attention to that. So if we started here with this string and this hole, and we'll just have to think as we go around and add the other strings. Okay, so much like you did with the plastic, you're going to use this end of the string to tie it into the cup. And if you need help, I'm happy to help you with that. Did you do it twice? Mm-hmm. Great. All right, how about you work on the next one? So if you've got
you
that,
work on this side?
Yeah, so yours will go through that and mine will go through this. Good. Okay, for our last step, we've got our 30-inch parachute constructed with the cup, our 20-inch parachute with its cup, and our 10-inch parachute with its cup cradle. So we had already placed 2 rumpled up pieces of tissue paper in the bottom of each cup. Now we can go ahead and carefully place an egg in each cup. There we go, go ahead, sit it in carefully, kind of nestle it in there. Right, one in here. Okay, before we move on, we want to put some tape, maybe like in a cross pattern, on top of each egg to keep it from moving. So if you like where each of those eggs are, you can go ahead and if you can move around the tissue paper a little bit if you like, if you want it to surround the egg like a nest or however you think it'll work best. And we're going to put some more tissue paper on top, so it's okay at this point to leave the top bare. Don't press too hard as you're putting the tape on, right? Or what could happen?
You'll break it.
You could crack the egg before we even get to drop it. Now, once you have it taped on top, and we'll do this for all 3 of them, you're going to rumple up 2 more pieces of tissue paper and then put another cross over the very top of the cup. Okay, now put the tape on top. While you're doing that one, I'll do it to this one. To test our egg parachutes and see how they do, we want to find a spot where we can drop them that's at least 10 feet off the ground. You can try a couple different places. Maybe you live in a home that has an outside staircase that allows you to do it. If you want to do it in an inside staircase, just make sure you put down a couple extra garbage bags, so in case the egg breaks, you don't want to get any egg on your floor or carpet. If you live near a playground, playgrounds are perfect if there's a large jungle gym that you can get to the top of and drop those off of there. So anything that's about 10 feet in height. You might need an adult's help to help you find a location to do this. Finally, we're not only looking at the egg to see if it sustains any damage as we drop it, and to test our design and maybe improve and make new types of parachutes. We also want to test the time it takes for our parachute to fall. So what was it you said earlier? What do you think will have the safest landing for our egg? A longer fall or a shorter fall?
A longer.
A longer fall. So make sure when you go to test your parachutes that you bring a stopwatch, or maybe an adult with a phone, they could use the stopwatch built into their smartphone to time the fall from the time you release it until it hits the ground. Typically, the longer the fall, the softer the landing, and therefore we would assume the more protected and less cracked of an egg we would receive at the end. You ready to go test it?
Yeah.
Before testing your parachutes, make sure you make a prediction about which one you think will do best. Conduct your tests and then go back and see if your prediction was correct. Our predictions aren't always correct, but that's okay. It's part of the learning process. When we let go of our parachutes, they fall to the earth due to a force known as gravity. Gravity is a natural force that pulls all objects towards our earth. So toys, balls, anything that we drop falls due to gravity. When we drop our parachute, if it unfurls, it's also creating air resistance. So as it opens up, there's a great amount of surface area that is working against the air, causing friction, slowing it down. Typically, the larger the parachute, the greater the air resistance, and therefore the slower the fall towards the earth. You can test out other shapes of parachutes like circles or hexagons. You can also try different sizes to see which one does better. Again, typically the slower the fall, the safer our egg and the less likely we will be to break it.
Hey guys, we hoped you enjoyed today's show and that you'll try some of these activities at home. We'll see you next time. See ya!